me to rotate. Hello, hello. Hi from Dominica. Hello. Let me just gather myself and organize here. It is 8 o'clock in the evening here, and I just need to get myself together. Oh, I arrived in Dominica yesterday. It is an absolutely stunning place. And I'm just such in a high because the nature here is so beautiful, and I was not expecting to record in this direction, but here we are. Okay, how are we hearing me? Okay, I think that might be better. I'm at this beautiful eco luxury lodge where they do a lot of wellness retreats for yoga, for healing. I feel that Dominica, people come here to heal, and I'm really glad towards the end of my business trip, going to different countries that have different citizenship by investment programs. This is a great place to end a trip, to heal, to reflect. And I know since I've been in the Caribbean for about a month, starting in Antigua and Barbuda, and then going to Grenada, then St. Lucia, then St. Kitts and Nevis, everyone's asking, Blair, are you still in Belgrade? Are you still in Serbia? Are you going to return back to Serbia? And I want to share, what's the next steps? Because I've been an expat for about a decade, and there's a lot of people who want to become expats. Or live abroad, or work remotely, do business abroad, buy land abroad, find work. I think, especially for many Americans who want to have a more flexible life and more control of their time, where they work, how they live, have a higher quality of life. Welcome all. Hi. If this is your first time watching, my name is Blair. I'm an American based in Belgrade, Serbia. Leave a comment below. You can introduce yourself, and I'm here to talk about how, if you're an American citizen or Canadian or of a different nationality and you want to become more of a global citizen, how to do that. Because I've been abroad for 10 years, and there's different levels when it comes to expat life, or being a digital nomad, or remotely working, or even if you're in the military or volunteering. And the next stage for me, and I want to share with you all and how you can join the community, is becoming more of a global citizen. And the last couple of weeks being in the Caribbean and learning about the different citizenship by investment programs. There are 5 Caribbean islands in the East Caribbean that have these programs: Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, St. Lucia, St. Kitts and Nevis, which was the first country in the world to introduce this program in 1984, and then now Dominica, which is known as the nature island of the Caribbean. And it's been really eye-opening. You think you know everything, and then there's just another level to this whole global lifestyle. And I've been in Belgrade, Serbia, for the last 3.5 years. I love Belgrade. If you've ever been to the Balkans, or I wouldn't say the Balkans is Eastern Europe, because Eastern Europe is more so Bulgaria, Romania, or former Soviet blocs. And the Balkans is Yugoslavia, or former Yugoslavian countries like Serbia, Montenegro, Croatia. Even Greece is technically the Balkans, but yes, EU. Hi, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I've had my locks for 15 years, and it's actually really handy. I have to say, having natural hair has saved me so much money over the last years traveling, because I take care of my hair. Living a global lifestyle, you just move differently, and the first step for many people is just how do you leave the US? How do you leave Canada? How do you leave the UK, or wherever you are? And that requires resources. You need a certain skill set so you can employ yourself, so you can start a business. We all need resources. So for me, I started as a grad student, And while I was studying, I got my certificate to teach English. So I started as an English teacher, this whole lifestyle abroad, teaching English. That was really my ticket out that took me to many places. And I met many other expats in many countries when I was in Thailand. There's a lot of British people, Australians, Kiwi people, Canadians that teach English. I met other nationalities that work in other sectors, especially as diplomats. I've met people that are married and their spouses took them abroad. So, hi. Yes, thank you, Rapunzel. I don't have Rapunzel hair. So if you're married and your spouse takes you, that's a wonderful exit. But in this day and age, especially post-COVID, a lot of people want to work remotely or have figured out how to work remotely. For an American company, for a British company, or for a company where you can leverage US dollars or euros or pounds and live in a more cheaper country like Thailand, or I mean, you can't work remotely in China, or Turkey, because I spent time at an American company when I was living in Turkey. So I think the next level that nobody really talks about, or very few people consider, is citizenship by investment. And typically that avenue for living abroad is for, I wouldn't say just high net worth individuals. If you came at the right time, because the prices and fees have risen over the last 2 years, buying property, making a donation to the government, building a hotel or a boutique hotel. And then different islands, they have different options, like and St. Lucia, they have the bonds. So there is a very niche community of people. In my trip, as going to the different islands as a spokeswoman, meeting a lot of property developers, hoteliers, expat entrepreneurs, people who've gone through that route. It's a very interesting and niche community. And I feel that many Americans should explore their options. Many Canadians I've met when I was in Serbia, we'll be going back to the end of this month, many Canadian Serbians have left, but other Canadians are looking to explore their options to live abroad. And while Serbia doesn't have their own citizenship by investment program, you can apply for citizenship after a certain amount of years, or there's a citizenship by merit, which I hope I'll be eligible for. So for me, especially over the last couple of weeks, what is next? Because I started my brand, Blair and Belgrade, on TikTok. I started this YouTube channel a year ago, and it's been an incredible journey. And everyone loves the Serbia content, but I've been posting other types of content like citizenship by investment. And I feel after 3.5 years and getting to know what is called the investment migration industry, I definitely want to build a community beyond Serbia, beyond Belgrade. And I'm 35, so I have, like every mid 35-year-old woman, have just like, I'm single, child free, what's my next 10 years going to look like? To build a brand of Blair and beyond Serbia. And of course have my home and my business, because I do have a relocation business, I do events in Belgrade. And that's the direction I'm going in. I'll definitely continue to talk about Serbia because it's home. I definitely hope to get citizenship. But it seems clear from this trip that there's a lot of investment in the Caribbean. There's a lot of money coming in to build hotels, luxury villas, and luxury gated communities, fine dining. A lot of business is coming in this area. And I never even imagined coming to the Caribbean. I've been to so many places, but the Caribbean and even the African continent, many people, especially Americans, are going to the continent, South Africa, to Ghana, to Kenya, and building a higher quality of life. So for those that do want to live abroad or even explore citizenship by investment, go to areas that not the usual typical Portugal, who changed their rules for citizenship by investment. I believe the golden visa to 15 years. Like, you'll have to wait 15 years before you get your citizenship. Spain is very popular amongst Americans, but Spain especially if you don't have a lot of your own capital, if you're not an investor, it could be very pricey. So if you want to live comfortably, at least maybe in the major cities. So there are other countries that are not the most popular on paper, but they have a lot to offer. And for me, I love living in developing markets like Thailand or Kazakhstan, Turkey, and Serbia. And in September, I went to Sao Tome and Principe. Again, never heard of it. It's not the most popular country. When I tell people about that, nobody knows, but they introduced their own citizenship by investment program. It's in the coast of Guinea. So like in the coast where there's Nigeria, Ghana, Guinea-Bissau. Okay. All right. So I'll have each of this. Just seeing this next year, hopefully first. Thank you so much, Luxury Bucket List. Thank you. I feel that I have this beauty and health because I left the United States. I'll be honest. Leaving the US 10 years ago 11 years ago actually, has been such a refresher in my life. Even being here in Dominica, I just got a massage earlier. I just feel like so healed. So thank you. I hope you continue to follow this journey. And I think the best thing we have to do these days is take care of our nervous system, take care of not only just our health, but our happiness, our quality of life. And I feel like this is a solution to exit a country that you're not happy in. And many Americans are not happy. Many people feel stuck. A lot of people don't know where to go. And I want to give this option something to consider, not just temporary living abroad, but to buy property abroad. Sao Tome and Principe, for example, you can, yes, you could buy like a beachfront property, renovate the home for, about 100,000 US dollars. What you would find typically in Beverly Hills or New York, you could find some beautiful property or land, build something yourself at a discounted price, and you can have the staff, cleaners, helps, nannies, everything, so you and your family can live well. And in many of these programs, you don't have to actually step foot in the country. So thank you. Yes, you have to take care of yourself. And it's very hard to take care of yourself if you live in a society that is really designed for you to take as much out of you, to get as much work, to get as much energy, to make you productive 24/7. And that's just not healthy. We're not designed as humans to just work, and you don't have a life outside of your work. So in these quote unquote unpopular countries, you can have it's not just a work-life balance, you can just have a higher quality of life. And what I've seen in the Caribbean, I mean, there are people doing really, really well here. I think it's intentional how the US has pushed the Caribbean or South America or the African continent as these scary places where everyone's poor and struggling and hungry. And that's just not the case. I've met some of the top property developers in the region. People here are really well educated. People are doing really good business. And even here in Dominica, I met the property developer where I'm staying, and his story is amazing. And he was talking about, the Bermuda, the Virgin Islands, Dominica. There's so much money coming in this area. Thank you. So I think it's like, for those that know, and I want you all to know that there's so much opportunity in the Caribbean. There's so much happening here. And a lot of these CBI, citizenship by investment programs, many people that apply and get their citizenship, they apply remotely. Many people maybe come for a week. Some people don't come at all. It's just really, for many families or investors, it's a plan B. A bit of both. Okay, yeah, Asia and Europe is good. I think for many Americans, especially if you don't want to cross the Atlantic, the Caribbean's right in our backyard. I love Asia. I was there for 5 years. I was in Thailand, China, and Singapore, and I traveled to Vietnam and Cambodia, Japan, South Korea, Kazakhstan, Turkey. I'm not sure. Turkey's like 3 continents, but still. Given the current political environment, it's good to have a plan B. Like, these citizenship by investment programs are a plan B. Like, you don't necessarily have to come and live for years. Many people don't even step foot in the country. So, thank you, passport to EU. Yeah, so if you want to get a passport to the EU, many of these countries, at least in the Caribbean, people use them, especially if you want to have a plan B. If you have college-age children, for example, Grenada has one of the top medical schools in the world. There's so many American doctors that went to the St. George's University. A lot of people that might have other passport that require a visa to the US and you're too busy, you don't want to have to spend weeks applying to go to the US. Having a St. Lucian passport or a Grenada passport can enable you to travel to the EU for 90 days or makes it easier for you to travel to the US. So, yes. And favorite content country, each country more. I think, you know, it depends on at this stage of my life, I'm very happy in Serbia, but at one point I was really happy living in Asia. So Asia was great, but many Asian countries, they don't grant citizenship. It's very rare. You can get like a long-term visa, you can get a permanent residence. And I know in Singapore, you get a permanent residence. Thailand, it is very rare. Like I lived in Bangkok for 3 years and it is very rare. I met maybe one foreigner that was eligible to get a Thai passport. So I think if you want to live in Asia, even if you're married to someone, you speak the language fluently, it's extraordinarily rare. But if you want to go the whole permanent residency route, that is a better option. It's a better option. So yeah, Thailand is nice. And Thailand has granted a new digital nomad visa. They have the permanent residence. They have the retirement visa because a lot of Americans, Brits, Swiss, Finns, like every nationality, many nationalities go to Thailand to retire. So if you want to have a residence in Thailand, you want to have a citizenship in Grenada, if you want that EU citizenship, it will take longer, but it depends on like, especially with the whole political situation in the EU right now is they don't like the idea of people buying passports, to be quite frank. And I would have to say Sao Tome and Principe in West Africa, because it's a former Portuguese colony, people that have that passport long-term has the eligibility to apply for a Portuguese passport. That I would have to say, I say to clients, because Portugal is a bit sick and tired of Americans and Brits, gentrifying the place and buying out locals. So they made it much harder for those that have the golden visa or that want citizenship. Like Portugal is it's tired. So if you want EU, I would have to say Sao Tome and Principe as a first step, 3 or 5 years, and then apply for Portuguese citizenship. Yeah. Yeah. We're going to go and put a 5-year option. Yeah, 5 years. Because it depends on like how much capital you have. Because Malta, for example, is an EU country. And I believe the capital starting there, it's for any EU type of country that has a golden visa, you're going to have to spend at least maybe €500,000. It's just going to cost more. Malta, I think Austria has introduced the idea of a citizenship by investment program, but again, the political environment in the EU is very, we don't want outsiders. We want to make it as difficult as possible. If you have some type of ancestry, that is a possible route to get a citizenship. So, the program changed in Malta. Okay, so if the program changed in Malta, yeah, again, there's always a way. It's just how much capital do you have to invest? Many countries, especially, they don't want just a bunch of rich people buying out locals. So it's not even about money at the end of the day for many countries. So, and I think, living in Serbia, which I'm happy that is not in the EU, though they do a lot of business with the EU, it does give them a lot of autonomy because the EU acting as a bloc, you know, can dictate how other countries operate. So, not against the EU, is just the political climate is not the best right now in America. Exactly. So I would say explore other places. The Caribbean is a great start. Um, Botswana also just launched their own citizenship by investment program. I believe Sierra Leone has one, like many other developing nations. And I don't like the term developing. Like, there is a growing middle class in many parts of Africa, many parts of the Caribbean, and many parts of, non-Western European countries like Serbia. Like, there is a very rich class there. Serbia, Montenegro, there is. So I would have to say expand your options. I think the whole Western Europe dream of this perfect, everyone gets along and no. I would say Europe, EU is just not what it was like 10 or 20 years ago. Yeah. Yeah. Asia. If you're thinking about going to Asia, I think Asia is exciting. But personally me, after living in China, for example, a lot of people in Asia are in the African continent. Everybody's trying to do business there. They're building there. They're buying land there. And Asia is very big. So are you thinking China? Are you thinking Thailand? Are you thinking Singapore? Are you thinking Vietnam, Cambodia, South Korea, Japan? Like, I believe even Japan has a specific visa program because they want to attract foreigners. But I know when I was in Japan, I just didn't like it. You want to be in a country where they want foreigners and they're actually trying to attract foreigners. Because it's one thing to say we want foreigners, but then they make it very difficult and a bureaucratic nightmare. And this happened to me when I lived in France. I was invited to build a business there with the Station F. They wanted to attract local and foreign entrepreneurs, but bureaucratically, as a non-EU citizen, it was a nightmare to try to do business there, let alone open a bank account. In Serbia, it was very easy, straightforward. They want foreigners. Everyone speaks English. So you want to be in a country that's welcoming. Yeah. There's a national movie because money is funny. But do this UAE Singapore to start. Okay. Yeah, I think I haven't been to the UAE. Everyone talks about Dubai and Qatar, and in the Middle East, it's the same. Like, you can get a permanent residence, but they do not grant citizenship. And Singapore is great, but it's very expensive. So it depends. If you want to live in a very expensive country, and Singapore is small, it's expensive, it's safe, quality of life, it's hot year round, you feel very safe. It's very easy to set up a company in Singapore and open a bank account. There's a lot of political stability. It's just very expensive. And my experience living in Singapore was not the best because, I didn't have a corporate job. I didn't have a spouse to support me. So I was just priced out. It's perfect if you have a nice corporate job, you have young children, you raise your family. But people I met there said they were very bored, and it was just a little bit too perfect. But maybe in the future, when I think it's for a much more mature entrepreneur or investor. The UAE, I don't know. I can't speak about it because I've never been. So, and honestly, I don't want to live in a place where 360, where there's no winter. I need winter. So with a lot of these citizenship by investment programs, you don't have to live there year round. Many people don't even step foot in the country. They reply remotely, they get their citizenship, and then maybe they'll spend a week, or they just don't see a need. So you have options. Essentially, because of tech and cloud security. Okay, yeah. I mean, if you want to do tech and cloud security, yeah. Singapore is great. The UAE, from what I read, is great. And yeah. See, you're over winter. I've met a lot of people that are over winter. I think I love winter. Maybe it's me because I'm from Massachusetts. But I love winter. I don't want to escape the winter. I think a lot of Americans or Canadians that are in the Caribbean, they come during December and January and February just to escape. I want to be in Belgrade in the wintertime. So I think it depends on your stage of life. What are your climate comforts? Do you want to live in a very expensive country? If so, because you can afford, not only just afford it, but that's the lifestyle you want to live. Whereas there are other countries that, are not as expensive as the Singapores, as the Dubais, or as the Londons, and you can have a very comfortable life. You can hire staff. You can have a nice villa. You can have, the good food. I think in the Caribbean they offer that. One place, for example, St. Lucia. I met an American Turkish property developer. They're building this luxury private community where people can park their boats. They'll have all these hotels. They're having a wellness center, and also they're bringing clinics like hair transplants, dental clinics, and other types of aesthetics. Like, this is going to be the first in the Caribbean. And I used to live in Turkey, so I've seen people do the hair transplants and everything. So that community, and if you have questions about that program in St. Lucia, it's called Aalia. Like, leave a comment below, because Aalia in St. Lucia, they're doing something completely unknown. It's 75 acres. I went around and see the pre-construction, and I saw the whole vision. It is absolutely amazing what they're doing. So, well, you're from New York, so old enough to be teen mom. So your stage of life, nice. Yeah, I get it. If you've done winter and you're over it, I say come to the Caribbean. Or I think a good plan, and you can email me more, is live in 2 or 3 different places. You can have something in the Caribbean where you spend like a couple of weeks. You can have, Thailand or the Singapore, because a lot of people set up a corporate office in Singapore and they have a subsidiary in Thailand or in Bangkok, Ho Chi Minh, or Phnom Penh, and then go to the Middle East and Dubai. So you can really have a global lifestyle. And I think that's the direction for me. What I've seen, how people really operate, is not just one place, multiple places. But what I love about the Citizenship by Investment program, most people don't come here. People might come a week or so, or maybe a couple of months. And if you do own a boat, you can park it and you just come. The yachting season here is, from what I told, between December to April, because the weather is perfect. So yeah, I think send me an email, luxury bucket list, and I could help you map out this global lifestyle you want to build. Especially, a lot of countries want people to start businesses and invest in properties. Do not come looking for work. I think that era of, even if you work for an international company, is just so competitive. Thank you. I have a new email address that's easier. It's blaircadet@gmail.com, because I'm redoing my website. I'll be changing my name and handle. I don't want to start a whole completely new YouTube or TikTok, but I think these days, having not just a second home place you can call home, but looking at, the world as a playground, like 3 months here, 4 months here, maybe I'll spend a week in Dominica, because it's really like luxury wellness. I feel so healed, even though I've been here for like a day. Spend some time on the African continent. It's great. I think this is the next stage. You want to take your life to the next level, you have to look at spending your time here and there and leveraging your euros or your dollars and your skill set and your expertise. So it's amazing to see how much the Caribbean is offering and the level of money coming into this region. I had no idea. Like, I know people think, the Europe, or at least the EU countries, are very rich, but a lot of and I'm talking ultra high net worth individuals, really come to the Caribbean or do a lot of financing in the Caribbean. So it's amazing to see. And At one point, I was very obsessed with being on the in Asia. I love China. Like China is everywhere. The Chinese are really everywhere, and their Chinese are even here in the Caribbean. So, does Dominica have investment? Yeah, Dominica does have a lot of investment, and foreign investors, foreign property developers, local property developers. Where I'm staying, local property developer, many properties, and they have their own citizenship by investment program. So the routes are you make a government donation or you buy property. And you have to hold on to that property for about 5 years and then you can resell it. So even this place I'm staying in, this is a bungalow where people spent at least $500,000 US. But the fee for the citizenship by investment for real estate, I believe it starts at $200,000. So, and the person that owns this place, they stay maybe for a week. But the resale value, that's the thing. Like you keep your property for 5 years, you have the people manage it for you, and then you can resell it. So that's the whole game. That's a whole different level. And I'm very new in this, but for many CBI programs, if you're getting to real estate, you have to hold on to that property for 5 years or for 7 years. So, which could get, yeah. Yeah, with Spain, I've met many Americans who live there. I don't think Spain has a golden visa. Maybe it does. But to get a Spanish passport, I don't know if someone has like a citizenship of like a former Spanish colony, like Dominican Republic or Mexico or many of the other South American islands, are they eligible? But I don't know. For Spain, that's not my area of expertise. So with Dominica, especially since many of these countries were former British or French and then Spanish, because Spain was colonized Dominican Republic. I think that's an interesting route, but you have to play the long game with that. And these days, to get a British passport, from what I understand, is extraordinarily difficult. Yeah, they do, but that's not what I'm talking about. The former colony angle. 2-year reduced time. Okay, maybe they do give the 2-year reduced time, but maybe they're going to require a language test because now more countries will say, well, you have to be fluent or at a certain level to get the citizenship. It's not enough to be have a certain citizenship. We want to make sure you pass a test. So maybe they do. That's what I'm saying for Sao Tome and Principe, since it was a former Portuguese colony. That may be a route after maybe 5 years to apply for Portuguese citizenship. But maybe they're going to require you to have some level of Portuguese. Because I know the Americans that are in Portugal, many do not speak a lick of Portuguese. And I thought about maybe going to Portugal at one point. And for me, I don't want to learn Portuguese personally. And it was just energy wise, it just didn't align with me. It's nice to visit. I love to go to the Four Seasons in Portugal or the Ritz-Carlton Four Seasons Hotel, but I don't see Portugal as home. However, to get to Sao Tome and Principe, you go through Lisbon. And from Lisbon, you have a direct flight. So, yeah, I think you have to play the long game, especially in this becoming a global citizen. You have to think, okay, where would I be eligible if I'm in the Caribbean? What can I leverage there? If I'm in the African continent, what can I leverage there? If I'm in Asia, what leverage do I have? Not only just a currency, but if your end goal is to, you don't want to learn. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, Portuguese is just tricky. You just have to see what's your long-term goal. Because if you want EU citizenship, most of this country is going to require you to have some fluency or understanding of the language. I know a person that got their French citizenship after being in France for about 8 years, and she had to take the language test, several times, but she eventually got it. So it depends how determined you are, Yeah, playing the long game. Yes, play the long game, but understand that people in power change, the global landscape changes. One administration can say, yes, we want to do this, and then 3 years later, the administration changes. So I say, always have your options. Yeah, yeah. French it's useful. Spanish is useful. Yeah, yeah. And many places in the world speak French and Spanish outside of Europe. Many African countries speak French. Many countries in most of South America speaks French, except Brazil. And I think Brazil has some type of residency program, not a citizenship by residency, but I think they have a residency program. And again, as a former colony of Portugal, I met many Brazilians that were in Portugal working, starting businesses. So yeah, sometimes if you want that easy, you have to start from, a former colony, and you can live a beautiful life. And then from there, you eventually apply. So it's just what stage of life you're at. What do you want? For me, I want to be comfortable. I want to have a high quality of life. I want to have a driver. I want to have a cook. I want to have a cleaner. I want like a staff so I can focus on business. I don't have children. I'm not married. So for me, I just want to take care of myself. So I'm just amazed that the level of development here in the Caribbean and how much money is being poured. So I say follow the money. Follow the money. Go where the money is. And right now in the EU, it seems like there's a lot of there's a lot of people are just not happy. It's not as quality of life is really not what it was for many people, even middle class people. In Asia, again, it depends. Asia is very big. So Southeast Asia, yeah, is you just understand you'll most likely never become a citizen, but they'll welcome you. Life is definitely getting more expensive. You have to also understand the pollution. When I was in Thailand, long term is not really good for your lungs and for your health because of the level of pollution. And I'm really glad I left in 2018 because it's not good for your health long term. So just you have to consider that if you're going to go to Thailand. Singapore is much better because a lot of the buildings have greenery. They have a lot of laws, especially very difficult to get a car. They want many people to use public transportation. So just think, the pros and cons. And for the Middle East, which I don't know much about, I just know that most of those programs are much more pricier. You can get that golden visa that will grant you a temporary residence or permanent residence. So, but never a citizenship. Yeah. Learning monetized skills. Yeah, tech and money in Asia for e-learning and monetizing skills. Yeah. So again, when you live abroad, if you're considering this route, starting a business, employing people, countries love that. People want foreigners to employ locals, start those businesses. And again, I know everyone talks about the UAE. Personally, I have to maybe go on a holiday to start. Because a lot of the people actually that entrepreneurs I've met Italian property developers when I was in Antigua, and they started out 20 years ago. They came here on a holiday and kept coming back, and they're like, you know what, let's do it. So there's a nice little Italian community in Antigua. I met a Norwegian couple in Nevis that's been there for 25 years, and they have this beautiful hotel and restaurant called Krishi Beach Bar. Beautiful, but they started going there because the parents were there, and then they started holidaying there. And they were just like, you know what? Why don't we leave Norway and do something here? And bought this beautiful beachfront property. The Turkish American that's building the massive private community in St. Lucia, again, it started with a holiday. So I think you have to holiday in a place to see and feel it. If it's right with you, plant that seed. Yeah. Husband's very resistant to the UAE. Yeah. I mean, if you're a couple, you have to make sure both people like it, right? You want to be in a place where both people like where they can see it as a home that they're comfortable in. So it's always good to start with a holiday there. But at the same time, like, don't just spend like 7 days, because being a tourist is not the same as living in a place. So you have to be very intentional. I say visit, a couple of times before you decide, okay, this is what I want. But again, for many of these, citizenship by investment programs, a lot of clients see it as an insurance policy. There's these bugs. They see it as part of their estate planning. So sometimes people just don't visit at all. And they're just like, okay, this is what we want. So if you're at a point you know exactly what you want, then you go for it. But I think if you're going to go to Asia, you need to spend time there. If you can go to the UAE or Qatar, they have their own residency program. I believe Saudi Arabia launched something. I'm not sure if Bahrain. I think Bahrain has one too. You have to know what exactly you want and just go for it. But understanding you're going to pay a very high fee. And many of these programs start minimum 200,000 US dollars and can go up to over $1 million US dollars, whether it's real estate or a donation. So I'm just happy that I'm at a stage in my life to, I want to build a community and be around people that want more of a global lifestyle, that want to build business abroad, that want to buy property abroad. Serbia is still very much part of my story. And there's a lot of excitement going on there. But to be frank, Serbia is going through some difficulties. And honestly, as a business owner, it is very hard to earn really good money and live comfortably in Serbia. You want to be in a place, it's good for a base, but a lot of the money is from outside. And I want to not have to only just rely on outside. And Belgrade has actually gotten more expensive too. It's not the cheap place it was pre-pandemic. So it's good to have options. If a place is not working and you're trying your best, and I think it's just diversify. Let's just say I'm diversifying. And I think the Caribbean is great. I think Sao Tome and Principe is great. To build a global lifestyle, I think these days, your health and your freedom, and freedom is having options. You can call multiple places home, right? Yes. Oh, wow. UAE is about to have 8 to 12K for licenses. I heard now even influencers have to have licenses, which I think is good, because these days anybody can just get in front of a camera and just spew a bunch of nonsense. So you want to be in a place where there is regulation, but not so much regulation that chokes creativity and innovation and stunts people from actually, doing good things, right? Yes. Good luck to you. Got this. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, I don't think it's just luck. It's more about being intentional, about where you're living, if the energy's good. And what I see from the UAE, I think I'm not at that stage of life where it's good for me to be there. But I see other people that are making it. They're wonderful. They're happy. I'm happy for them. But I know for me, at the stage of my life, having a home in Europe, having a home in the Caribbean, having a home maybe in the African continent, that's where I am. So, yeah, we make our luck. Yes. I think the harder you work, and also everything's about timing. Nobody talks about how you could have, the ambition, the plans, but if it's not your time, it's not your time. And at 35, I feel like my time is now to expand. And I think the time now for many Americans to really think about exploring their options. American companies are not loyal. And since there's no safety nets, I know everyone can't be an entrepreneur, but we need to really reset our mindset, like that you can't just rely on someone to earn a living. You can't. I say this as a teacher. Like, when I was teaching my high school students, this was a business prep school. I was saying, like, business is just solving a problem. And while you need to be able to be a problem solver and to earn something to solve a problem. So I think in the US, the way we're educated, the way a lot of the masses are educated, it's just not workable today. So timing, luck, and also mindset. I've met a lot of amazing people over the last 10 years, especially in Serbia, but not everyone has that mindset to, think beyond where they are. Me, I think, and I have that experience of living in many different cultures, different countries that have different religions. Like Thailand, they're Buddhists. And in Serbia, they're Orthodox Christians. When I was in Kazakhstan, there were atheists, but also Orthodox Christians and also Muslims. I studied in Israel, so most of the country is Jewish. By the way, I'm a Jewish woman, so I have to live in a country that has Jews. That's important to me. And I think at the end of the day, everyone wants a higher quality of life, but you have to live in a place where the mindset is growth, opportunity, not scarcity. So, yes, thank you. Thank you. Mindset is everything. And honestly, it took a lot of time when I left the US to change my mindset. Growing up in poverty is not easy. Growing up where, there's a whole scarcity. It's been a decade of a lot of unlearning, learning new things, honing my skills. And that's another thing, to keep on learning. You should never be done learning. And especially being around people that are just happy with how things are. So you want to live in a place where there's an elevated mindset and people are not stuck. Because after being in Belgrade for 3.5 years, I feel great, but I feel like I've reached a glass ceiling. I've met everyone. I've met many successful people. I've been to a lot of cool places, but I feel like I've reached a glass ceiling. And as much as I love Serbia, it's just, I'm still technically an outsider. So it's good now to expand my wings and be like, okay, what else is out there in the world? Where else can I grow? Where else I can earn? So the Caribbean, this is where the money is. The African continent, this is where the money is. Asia, you have a lot of innovation, but you'll definitely have to bring your own money. So, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of people have tried to humble me. I don't know why people are obsessed with humbling women, and Black women in particular. But I've learned I have a good circle of people around me. All people that I consider my friends, they're entrepreneurs. So when I talk about my milestones, they're like, this is great. When they talk about their milestones, I'm like, great. Like, I'm around people that are constantly growing, constantly, doing the next thing. And I had to learn not to ask, people that were not growing or doing bigger and bigger and better things questions, because people felt like I was judging them. And it's just like, I'm not judging you. I'm around people that are just doing cool things, and everyone's like doing a next project, doing a business. Everyone's doing something. So it's important, I think, not only let people not humble you, but be around people that have that growth mindset. Yes. Yes. Yes, they are, but no intention. I was seeing young Black women doing it. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I think that one thing I love about living in Serbia, and maybe my next destination, is I'm just an American. There's a huge American privilege to when you enter a country, because everyone thinks, okay, you're American, you have money. You're American, you have great ideas. A lot of countries need fresh, new ideas. Not everyone are risk takers like Americans. I feel like over the last 11 years I've met people are actually really risk averse. In many cultures, you're not supposed to take risk. And there's a class difference of, who's allowed to be the adventurous one, who's allowed to study abroad, who's allowed to start businesses, and also the safety net and the class privilege. You have to have money to really start a business. And I met many family-owned businesses. So I think that I'm kind of unique in the sense no one's funding my life. While I did have like a little family help, I still had to pay for my own education. No one in my family lives, or traveled as excessively as I have. So yeah, the life I'm living, for many people, whether it was Serbia or Thailand or Turkey or France, that they come from family money. They come from generational wealth. Um, their parents were very successful professionals that allowed them to, invest in their children. I had none of that, So yeah. In regards to Africa, yeah, I've been to Kenya. I had a brand trip in 2022, 2023, exploring the luxury safari market. There's a lot happening in Africa. Like a lot of people don't know how much, like Africa is not this poor, destitute place of desperate people. There is a huge growing middle class. The continent's huge. So I only been to Kenya and then Sao Tome and Principe, but every country has that growing middle class. They're educated. People are starting businesses, whether it's IT or fashion or marketing. Like there's so much happening in the continent. Like I do want to spend more time between like Europe, Caribbean, and Africa. Like those are my three, focuses. So yeah. And you have to, and again, it's earning your way to building wealth. Maybe do a video on that. I want to become a millionaire. And it used to be, take your money out of America and, live well. But now you can really earn well in all these other places. There is a consumer base in the African continent. There is, in Kenya, they have their own like Silicon Valley. There is a lot of demand. When you have a middle class, people are good consumers. So you don't have to build that American dream in the US. I think the new American dream, not only just to take your money out of America and build and live a quiet and nice life, but you can really earn good money abroad in these emerging markets. That's what China has done. China's heavily invested in the African continent. So, and in the Americas and even in the Caribbean. So I'm excited for this journey. I'm really, really excited. And over the next couple of weeks, especially since I'm going back to Belgrade, a lot's going to change. So I think, thank you. Yes, yes. I'm building a brand and I want to build a community, people of like-minded individuals that want this global lifestyle, that want to get into citizenship by investment. And I want to focus on the Caribbean and Africa, in the African continent, because that is two regions that is ripe of opportunity, ripe of talent, ripe with demand for new products and services. So I have big plans, and I think I'll end here because I think it will be good to do another live this week to talk about, as I wrap up this trip, from Blair and Belgrade to Blair and beyond, and building the community. Because one thing in life, when it comes to success, you can't do everything alone. So whether you're here or you're watching the replay, watching, thank you. We want to build well together, another system. Yes, thank you. Thank you all for tuning in. And yeah, continue to support, subscribe if you haven't already. And yes, Blair and Beyond. That's the name. It's Blair and Beyond. I am beyond Serbia, but Serbia is my home base. And it's just been lovely talking to you all. I think these evening chats are, because the days are just so chaotic. I love chatting with you guys. And yeah, let's do this. Let's take over the world. And, the world is our playground. We have options. So thank you for watching. And I'll see you later this week. Bye.